Hey guys, I love here. We just got done with the first Pioneer testing today. And again, I'm just trying to be very cautiously optimistic about the game because I know how I am with RO. I know how, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know how you are with RO. With Ragnarok, it's like we just really love the IP, right? So it's hard to not get excited sometimes. I know for a fact that I had a lot of fun with today's testing, with the short 5 hours that we were able to do it. We got to do quite a lot of stuff. We got to see a lot of the features that the game has, right? But again, I know that a lot of this can easily be ruined by, to start with, really bad features that should not be in an MMORPG, and then that would be including things like really bad monetization. But yeah, besides that, those are some things that we can't really quite control just yet, but there are certain things that we got to experience in Pioneer testing. And again, this feedback has already been sent over to the dev team, so hopefully they hear us out on this stuff as well. So animation locks is one of the few issues that I have, like especially playing like a warlock, right? Even the stuff that technically has 0.1 second like casting time, which is kind of like the auto attack almost of warlocks, that you just have to kind of hold it down. It's pretty bad. Like, it shouldn't lock me in place. I should be able to at least like cancel it and by moving, because one of the reasons is the game does have like these dungeons and it requires like these really like quick reactions, right? So yeah, again, being animation lock, like I said here, is practically a death sentence, and it can get pretty frustrating, right? It's okay in the normal dungeons, but once you get to like the hard dungeons, and eventually I'm pretty sure there's going to be like nightmare or hell dungeons, you can't really afford to get hit like that for free. And speaking of the animation lock on skills, one of the feedback that I have for the game is the skills feel very spammy. We had these skills that essentially are, like I said, like kind of like auto attacks almost, where we would put them on like my E hotbar, right? And then I would have to hold down E so that it would keep auto casting as I go, because it has a 0.1 second cast time and a 0.1 second cooldown, right? I would hold that, and then I would start weaving all my other skills in between. So it just felt like if that's something that should be happening, then I think there should be a better execution of that one, instead of like just having your finger on one button like the whole time. Again, it's not like the biggest deal. Honestly, as we kept going in the playthrough, it started growing on me a little bit. And again, not the biggest thing. I could always just keybind it to one of my like mouse buttons, and then it wouldn't be such a problem, right? But again, yeah. And the party finder, it's really great that it's there, but there isn't a search feature if I'm looking for a specific person or party. You kind of just have like to keep scrolling, and because there's so many parties that are already available, it's really hard to find. It's damn near impossible sometimes. I know at one point I told Cannon to join my party, and he was trying to look through the party finder, and he just couldn't find me, right? And this one, I'm pretty sure this might be changed, but I'm just gonna mention this anyway. Mobs were in different locations compared to R1. Some mobs were actually more bunched up than others, which is not a bad thing. I do appreciate the spread out mobs in R1 quite a bit, but I get it as well. They have those mobs in compact packs, basically similar to BDO, where you have like multiple packs of mobs in like one spot to make it easier for AoE grinders to be able to capitalize on that. We had like soldier skeletons and Eggers in like Payon Cave 1, which is yeah, like if you're a newbie and you just became an archer or something, you went in there, you're probably gonna get insta-gibbed, right? But again, might be something that is just part of this build that's not going to be in the main game. Also, we noticed that the BGM, the background music, did not change when we entered the area, so that's like another thing. This one definitely is one of the big ones, I would say, and there's a reason why like I have such a big paragraph on it. The dailies. I will forever be against dailies, just because from a guild leader's perspective, and knowing why people quit the game, why recruitment is such a hard thing, because like people just don't like dailies. The moment that somebody can do dailies for like a month, for like 2 months, for a few months even for some people, right? But like the moment that they even get like a day break or a week break or a month break, they start to realize that, hey man, it's actually really good that I don't do dailies anymore, and I really like not having to do these chores, not having to log into a game and have it feel like, you know, oh yeah, I have to do I have to do my job of like dailies, and usually it includes a lot of activities that do take quite a bit of time. For like some of the casuals, they want to just like log in, they want to enjoy the game with the content that they actually want to do. But then if they're pigeonholed into doing these dailies, that they're just like, hey man, I'm just gonna, I have to do 10 of these activities. 8 out of 10 of them I have no interest in doing. Again, it's the bane of player retention, man. Like it's such an archaic way of trying to keep people online, versus just make the game fun, just make the game good. People will log in, people will hang out with their guilds, with their community, if the game itself is conducive to that, right? Which is also something that I'm going to touch upon later with like the whole auto system. But like I said here, I think that if we are going to stay true to R1, that it should remain more so a sandbox game instead of being more theme park. A lot of the reasons why a huge chunk of that player base didn't really stay for renewal or left at renewal and prefer pre-renewal is because renewal was really the start of RO1 itself starting to be, it started veering. It was always like in the middle, but it was like towards more towards like the sandbox type of game, right? And you know, because it started as a sandbox game, it started veering more towards the middle gradually. And renewal, what renewal really did was really veer it more towards the side of the theme parkiness, like where you have to grind at these spots, otherwise you're just not going to be able to get a lot of XP, right? You don't really have that freedom of choice anymore, which is kind of rough. It was a step in the right direction that the dungeons are once a week, but again, it might be problematic if people feel like they have to do it every week instead of progressing how they want, right? There's dungeons in other games that, you know, would equate to 2 hours, 3 hours of grinding, but there's people that just cannot be bothered to do dungeons, and they can be bothered to do dungeons in like the first month, the first 2 months, but when you get the same dungeons over and over and over and over and over, it just weighs on you, man. People dread logging in because they know for a fact that like, oh man, I gotta do this dungeon again. And there's a normal mode, there's a hard mode, and we know for sure there's gonna be a nightmare and a hell mode. And the higher the difficulty, the more of a chore it's gonna feel, the more hectic it's gonna be. And having to do that every single week across like 5 different bosses, man, that's I really wouldn't want to go through that, because it's either you do it or you don't, and if you don't get the diamonds that you get from there, right? The diamond like income that you get from there, which, you know, if they are going with this multi-currency type of thing that they're doing, then it's going to become problematic, because people are going to feel obligated to do those things instead of having it be sandboxy like R1 was supposed to be, right? That's what made R1 fun. The fact that you could hop into the game, you could have like all these options with questing, with grinding, and then you don't feel pressured to do either or. You just go ahead and do whatever it is that you want, and you progress that way, right? And as I stay here, as a longtime community lead / guild leader, I've lost count how many members I've lost due to them quitting because of dailies. All it takes is for somebody to like not be in the game for like a day or a week or sometimes like even a month, and they're just like, man, like I feel really good about my life, the fact that I don't have to spend like all these hours every single day doing dailies. It's a chore. Nobody wants to play a game and to do chores. People want to log into a game, they want to have the freedom of being able to do what they want and not get gated in any way, shape, or form, whether it's life skilling, whether it's dungeon PvE, whether it's PvP, or whether it's like straight up grinding, right? And I think like if the game wants to have that longevity, then they need to be able to give the players that freedom in what they want to do. Again, more sandboxy, less theme park. There has not been a single Ragnarok game that has gone the theme park route that has lasted and has not like dropped sharply in terms of like player base, right? And the next one I have is the MVPs, and this was confirmed by people as well. Personal rewards and team rewards. People that played our Ragnarok Origin, people that played like ROM are very like familiar with this, where you have like a set amount of like MVPs that you do per day. Even more egregiously in this one is Rue, right? Rue, if you weren't one of the whales, if you weren't one of the most like the more like optimal comps, you were screwed essentially. Like you would be trying to get your personal rewards and your team rewards for 3 to 4 hours sometimes. Like I've heard nightmares from people who don't really have competent or who don't really have like optimal members in their party, and they have to do all that stuff for hours, and nobody who has the time to do that and not get anything once you've already capped on your team rewards, and your personal rewards are just like not up there. So again, under the assumption that there is even some slight pay to win in the end product of the game, especially even if there's no gate. If there's no gate, then it's not a big deal, right? Because eventually everybody gets to the end game, everybody gets to the part where they are right around like equal gear. It's not too much of a problem, because eventually the more gear people get, the less and less time it takes, and that's completely okay. But as it is, I'm going in here with the assumption that it's going to have some type of pay to win, even though like if it does like go that route where everything is gated by money, I'm probably not going to be lasting too long in the game anyway. But yeah, it's just nobody wants to waste that much time and then have to do like their 9 other dailies, for example, right? Again, classic movement controls, the more modern ones, the WASD felt really good. The classic ones actually was pretty fun to use as well, but it was very problematic in a way that sometimes certain terrain like bridges, you couldn't pass through them. Like you couldn't click through them either, and you had to go back to the WASD. So that definitely needs some work. Not the biggest thing, obviously, since we have like other choices, but for people that prefer the classic movement / controls, it just needs to be fixed. Character movement speed, it does feel pretty floaty. Mostly, I think it's mostly because of the slowness of like the movement speed in the game. And this could be easily resolved just by like speeding it up a little bit. So, you know, the character, it doesn't look like he's trying to gracefully strut like everywhere he goes, like if he's going from like city to city or something. Presets and skills not being changeable in combat. Sometimes you forget to change skills and sometimes hit the boss already, or sometimes you just need to adapt on the fly, right? Like, okay, like you could make the argument like, okay, just wipe. But there's no need for you to wipe if you can just switch the skill, right? Part of your skill set. Guild League, it was perfect. It was fun. It was, man, it was probably the best experience that we had in this Pioneer testing. It was fun, it was enjoyable, it had really clear objectives. I really think that they made a really good change into the classic Guild League of Ragnarok Origin, where it's not so compact anymore. There's a lot of avenues, there's a lot of kind of like areas in the zone where you can find different angles to hit. You have like the multiple flags, so there could be essentially a back and forth as to how focused people are on the objective and getting the flag. I don't really feel like changing anything about it. Like I don't even care if there's no if there's no like sub map. Like I think it could do without it. We don't have to force that in there if not needed, right? I also like the fact that it was 40v40 and not like 50v50, which was the cap currently. It could get higher than that, obviously, but because it makes it so you don't feel the need to have a constant 50 every single time, which was, I think, one of the things that TNL did kind of wrong with their GVGs, where like if you show up to a GVG with not your 70 and you show up with like 50 instead of like the max amount of people, or like 65 or 70 people, and the other guild did, you were kind of screwed. So I think that's a really, really good move by them. One of the biggest biggest things that I liked about this one. And if I had to nitpick, again, it's the fact that it's scheduled only certain times. It makes it so like if it doesn't align with somebody's schedule, then that person is just screwed, right? But again, that's just me nitpicking. I really don't have anything that I can really complain about Guild League. Cursor was a bit hard to see sometimes. So maybe a little bit more like bordering, maybe like a yellow or whatever, like highlight on the cursor would be nice. Autoplay, I think the combat is simple enough that it shouldn't warrant autoplay. And again, I just don't believe in the autoplay aspect of it. I didn't even use it in this beta, even though it was there, just because of the fact that like it's just not conducive to like a good game. You know what I mean? And it is much healthier for the game that definitely has player-to-player trading to not have autoplay, for a myriad of reasons. Equipment system feels too simplistic and basic. It feels like the variety of like your build and your gear is through RNG on the stats. And yeah, I mean, I get it, right? Like you have to have like a gear treadmill for the end game, but it just really feels like there's no variety, right? Like what am I going to be grinding in the end game? Like I want to go to like if I want slotted shoes, I want to go to Moonox and like farm the slotted shoes. Like if I wanted like certain rare gear, I would like hunt for it and get the satisfaction of getting it, and then actually having different gear sets, for example, to complement like whatever build that I was gonna do, instead of having multiple pieces of the same thing. It just I don't know, it just felt very simplistic and basic, and was too reliant on RNG, the RNG factor of it all. The other thing that I haven't written here that I actually wanted to add as well, that I feel like the class balance was actually surprisingly, again, granted, we were very limited with the skills that we got because a lot of the skills that were there were kind of like locked, and they wanted us to test like a specifically like third class like skills for the most part, but it felt like the classes were very, very balanced. For example, when I was playing Warlock, the Warlock didn't feel like it did too much damage, but it did make up for it in terms of utility, right? It, don't get me wrong, it did do damage, but it didn't do like egregious amounts of damage, but it made up for it with utility. I was actually pretty surprised to see GX in large scale actually perform, and this is more towards the guild league, right? Like they actually added the support counter for priests, and so you would see priests up in the rankings because, like, again, it just gives them credit and just feels good, I'm pretty sure, for the supports that their efforts are actually showing in the rankings as well. So that's like the first impressions that I've gotten of the beta so far, and the limited stuff technically that we got to test. I know that we're gonna be doing, I believe, Castle Siege, like War of Imperium essentially. So that 1500 versus 1500, I'm not sure when that's gonna happen and how we're gonna be, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to fill those slots even more later down the line. So looking forward to that. Yeah, man, the game thus far does feel like it has a lot of potential, and a lot of the content that we were able to do did seem pretty fun. Even the dungeons, I'm usually just not a big fan of like dungeons and being forced to do dungeons, but man, like the song, like the at ST, I believe, the mermaid, it had like a really, I don't know, like there's something about lyrics in like an in-game song. It just it was an experience. Let's put it at that. And it was a very good experience, and I definitely liked running those dungeons. I don't know if I want to run them every week with different difficulties, but you know, probably not. But the experience itself was like nice, right? And it's something that I would be like, yeah, you know what, once in a while I'll do it, right? But I definitely don't want to get pigeonholed into having to do that every single week, otherwise I fall behind and then I just don't get the diamond currencies, right? I'd rather have like multiple sources of getting it. Like for the life skillers, give them to the life skills. For the grinders like myself, give us a way to get that through grinding mobs or what have you, but like through dailies or something like that, right? Not dailies, like even like daily quests, because like I'm gonna be grinding anyway, so that's fine. Like that's a normal good type of daily where it's optional. Very, very cautiously optimistic. I know of Gravity's history, unfortunately. These good things about the game so far could easily be ruined by egregious monetization that Gravity is notoriously known for. So as long as they don't mess that part up, like this could be a worthy successor to RO1. But all it takes for them is to get just a little, just too greedy, and then goodbye. Thank you guys for your support. Again, I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, peace.
And I pretend I'm happy for you when you find some dude to take home, but I won't deny that in the midst of the crowds and the shapes in the clouds, I don't see nobody but